Hugh Jackman just got dragged online for something that wasn't really his fault, and the reason why says a lot more about Ryan Reynolds than it does about Wolverine. Disney dropped a D23 promo video meant to hype up the cast of Avengers, Doomsday, and instead of generating excitement, it turned into a genuinely funny, genuinely revealing look at exactly how tired people have gotten of Ryan's whole shtick.
Dude, I don't want to do this.
Just do it.
They've already done filming. This is
Do
silly.
it. Or maybe the next one is called Deadpool and Spider-Man and literally everyone except Wolverine.
Who are you? Like, what? That's both hurtful and spiteful.
The video was supposed to be a cute bit of fan service. What it actually did was hand the internet a comment section where they could finally say the quiet part out loud. The bit itself is simple, but the execution is what made it land the way it did. Hugh, playing along with the joke, records a fake, awkward pitch video begging Kevin Feige for a spot in Doomsday, just checking in totally unprompted, wondering if you might need some help rounding out the cast. He's visibly uncomfortable doing it, at one point flatly saying he doesn't want to, that he's already done filming, that this is silly. The delivery is deadpan enough that it plays as genuine reluctance dressed up as a bit, which is exactly the kind of joke that only works if there's a real feeling underneath it. Off to the side, Deadpool heckles him through the whole thing, needling him about being irrelevant, asking who Ryan Reynolds even is anymore, throwing in a line about the next spin-off being called Deadpool and Spider-Man, and literally everyone except Wolverine. At the end, Hugh turns to camera and says he might be able to convince Ryan to show up too, but no pressure, followed by, "I hate you so much, man," which reads less like a scripted joke and more like something everyone involved actually means a little bit. It's a self-own dressed up as a promo, and it's a fairly rare thing for Disney marketing to allow. There's a real joke buried under the self-aware bit too. The video leans into the idea that Wolverine and Deadpool are the golden ones, a nod to how enormous Deadpool and Wolverine's box office run was, and how that success seems to be the entire justification for wedging both characters into a movie that, by most counts, already has close to 30 confirmed cast members. That's the actual concern underneath the comedy. Doomsday is enormous already. It's being sold as the culmination of years of multiverse storytelling, with a cast list that reads like a full Marvel roll call rather than a focused ensemble. Adding two of the franchise's biggest, most attention-hungry characters into a cast that size raises a fair question about whether anyone in this movie is going to get real screen time, or whether it's just going to be cameo after cameo stacked on top of each other, each one competing for a few seconds of a runtime that can only stretch so far.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, D23. Hope you're all having a great time. I just wanted to check in, just totally unprompted, and just wondering if you might need some help. Rounding out
The cast.
rounding out the cast? Dude, they've got like 28 people. Why the hell do they need us?
Fans have raised this exact complaint about Marvel projects for a couple of years now. The sense that bigger casts and more crossovers have started to matter more than actual character development. And this promo, whether intentionally or not, walks straight into that criticism instead of avoiding it. Here's where it stops being a fun meta joke and starts being genuinely interesting, though. Ryan Reynolds has his comments turned off on his own version of this promotional push. Hugh Jackman does not.
It's all positive comments, but Hugh can have his comments on. And look, there are some positive comments. I'm not going to lie. He does get some positive comments. A lot of Marvel fans who sort of, I guess, ambivalent on this whole thing. But there were a lot of negative comments throughout it all. I wanted to make sure you could see there were plenty of them.
That certainly invites speculation. Studios and celebrities disable comments for all kinds of reasons. Everything from spam filtering to standard policy on certain accounts. And we don't actually know why this particular decision was made. But it's easy to interpret the contrast as a decision made with a specific comment section in mind, especially once you scroll through what's sitting under Hugh's version and see the tone waiting there. If the comments were switched off specifically to get ahead of that reaction, that would be a genuinely telling detail. We just don't know that's what happened. The tone isn't subtle. People are openly saying they're tired of Ryan, tired of the bit, tired of the constant fourth wall breaking cameos that used to feel clever and now read as forced. Some comments frame it as simple burnout. The idea that the wink at the camera routine that made Deadpool work in the first place has just been run into the ground through overuse, the same joke told one too many times until the trick stops working. Others go further than fatigue and land on something closer to genuine dislike, calling for Marvel to recast the role entirely, or saying outright they won't watch anything with him in it going forward. A small number of comments tie their frustration to unrelated controversies Reynolds has been part of this year, though it's hard to say from a comment section alone how much that's actually driving the broader reaction versus just adding extra venom to people who were already annoyed. One comment put the overall sentiment about as bluntly as it can be put. People used to find the bromance with Hugh endearing, and now it just feels gimmicky. That comment alone pulled hundreds of likes, which tells you it wasn't a fringe opinion in that thread. Another, similarly well-liked, described him as running on a handful of tired catchphrases with nothing new behind them. It's worth being fair here, because not every comment was hostile. There's a real split in that section between people who are just mildly over the joke and people who've gone fully negative on Reynolds as a public figure. Some commenters pushed back on the pile-on directly, pointing out that Deadpool's fourth wall humor was always going to wear thin eventually, no matter who played him, and that the backlash says as much about superhero fatigue in general as it does about Ryan personally. A smaller group defended him outright, arguing the character is still funny, and that online negativity tends to snowball once it starts, regardless of whether the target actually did anything differently this time around. The negative comments do appear louder and more numerous than the positive ones in this particular thread, though that imbalance is worth treating as a snapshot of one comment section, rather than a verdict on how the wider audience feels. Whether Reynolds himself will actually show up in Doomsday isn't confirmed anywhere official yet, but the pattern around Marvel's marketing lately makes it hard to bet against it. These help me get cast bits tend to be a setup rather than a real request, a way of teasing an appearance without technically confirming one. And the timing here, right as Doomsday's marketing machine is ramping up toward release, points toward Reynolds turning up in some form, whether the comment section wants him there or not. If you're hoping to avoid him entirely, that might mean skipping opening weekend and waiting to see how things shake out once the reviews and cast breakdowns start circulating. It's worth pausing on that, though, because the more interesting question here isn't really, what does this prove about Ryan? It's how much weight a single comment section should even carry. Comment sections skew toward people with strong feelings, positive or negative, and they're not a scientifically representative sample of how the broader Doomsday audience actually feels. It's entirely possible this reads as a much bigger referendum on Reynolds than it actually is, amplified by algorithms that reward pile-ons and by the fact that annoyed people comment a lot more than mildly satisfied ones do. But there's a more interesting version of this story sitting underneath the "is Ryan overexposed" framing, and it's less about Ryan personally than about the character he built his whole comeback around. Deadpool worked in the first place because he felt like an interruption, a character who broke the rules of a genre that had gotten predictable, winking at the audience about how absurd all of it was. That joke only works as an interruption. The moment the wink becomes the entire format, the moment every promo, every cameo, every red carpet appearance runs the same bit, the interruption stops being funny and starts being exactly the kind of formula it used to make fun of. What this comment section might actually be reacting to isn't Ryan Reynolds specifically. It's an entire style of humor that's been stretched across so much content for so long that the self-awareness has curdled into predictability. That's a harder problem to fix than any one bad promo, because the fix isn't doing the joke better. It's doing something other than the joke at all. None of this means Doomsday itself is in trouble. A movie with this much star power and this much money behind it is going to open huge no matter how loud one comment section gets. But it does suggest Marvel might be sitting on a genuine fatigue problem with one of its most bankable bits, right as it's trying to convince the world that Doomsday is the movie that finally justifies years of multiverse chaos and apparently a cast list pushing 30 names deep. Cramming in two more of the franchise's biggest, most self-aware personalities into a story that's supposed to feel weighty and consequential is a strange way to build confidence in that pitch, whether or not any individual comment section is representative of the wider audience. There's also something worth noting about Hugh Jackman's own position in all of this. Because he's not exactly an innocent bystander, he's just the more sympathetic half of the pairing. He's played Wolverine for over 2 decades at this point, retired the character once, unretired him for Deadpool and Wolverine, and is apparently being pulled back in again for a movie he doesn't seem thrilled about promoting, based on how the sketch plays. Whether that reluctance is real or just good acting is impossible to know from the outside, but the joke works precisely because audiences already suspect it might be at least a little real. Hugh gets to be in on the joke about Ryan's overexposure without actually distancing himself from Ryan, which is a fairly clever needle to thread, and it's part of why his version of the promo landed so much softer than it would have if Reynolds had fronted it alone. So, where do you land on this one? Is this actually about Ryan Reynolds, or is it what happens when a joke built entirely around self-awareness gets told so many times it stops being an interruption and becomes the thing it was originally making fun of? Drop your take in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If this one kept you hooked, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Clout Fallout so you don't miss the next update on this story.